So, video games mean a lot of different things to a lot of different people. For some, it's a way to unwind after a long day, and for others, it may just be a way to connect with friends, tell stories, or express themselves creatively. But no matter what you play, one thing remains true, that the games we love shape us into who we are. That's why everyone has that one game that they're willing to defend with their whole heart, even if it's a little janky or everyone else thinks it's mid, because to them, it meant something, and I'm no exception. I've been playing video games for as long as I can remember. Some of my earliest memories include me booting up this computer game where I drove around in a truck, or my first ever experience playing a borrowed copy of Pokemon Leaf Green. And now that I'm 25, I've got some opinions. Some are reasonable, some are 100% nostalgia fueled, and some are, well, might cause some debate. But today, I'm counting down my top 10 favorite video games of all time, as of 2025, mind you. I also wanted to do something fun. I've handcrafted various categories of awards that I'll be handing out with these clip art trophies that I found on Google. Throughout this top 10 list, I'll be giving these subcategories a little award, as opposed to say thank you or whatever. These small awards are based on something that I love about each of these games. Now understand, these aren't the greatest games ever made. They're just the ones that hit me the hardest, the ones that I still think about for years after beating them and think very fondly about to this day. Now before we get into this, I just wanted to give a quick shout out to a couple of honorable mentions. Games that I love, but they didn't quite crack that top 10 list. So here we go, just a quick rapid fire honorable mentions, starting with Metal Gear Solid 5, The Phantom Pain. A super addicting game and a wildly confusing story, great time. Pokemon Fire Red and Pokemon Soul Silver, I decided to combine them both. Peak childhood nostalgia for me, great times. The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time, an absolute classic, considered one of my favorite Zelda games of all time. Sonic Adventure 2, I actually had this on my top 10 list before I started working on this video, but I took it off. But I just want you to know, I adore this game. It's super nostalgic for me. Such a fun time. Mario Galaxy. It's honestly a wonder why I don't have this on my top 10, but it's not there. This game really defined my childhood and maybe even me. GTA 5. I've been playing this game since it released on the PlayStation 3, and it's still a fantastic time to this day. God of War 2018. This is another masterpiece that I actually also had on my top 10 list for a little bit, and I just took it off because, you know, whatever. But yeah, no, I love Kratos and boy. All right, now with that out of the way, let's get into my actual top 10. So coming in at number 10 with the award for the best soundtrack goes to The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. My first playthrough of Tears of the Kingdom was so much fun. I had to actually pace myself so I didn't beat the game super quickly after its release. I found myself completely lost in the sauce when it first came out. Now, I gave it the award for best soundtrack because, damn, if Tears of the Kingdom did anything right, it was that trailer music.
Link.
I also have to say the Ganon fight could arguably be on a tier with Dark Souls bosses in my opinion, not to mention he's voiced by the GOAT Matt Mercer. I loved finding creative ways to complete the shrines, solve puzzles, and explore the world in my first playthrough, and to this day, it's still such a fun time. The Ultra Hand mechanics brought a level of creativity and experimentation that I admire, but it could have been a little overwhelming or clunky at times, especially if you wanted a break from the physical puzzles. The depths, while they were thematically pretty cool, they kind of lacked diversity and incentive after a while. And the Sky Islands, they were gorgeous. I was super hyped about those, but they were wildly underused. Still, it was a bold and innovative sequel, and I respect it deeply for that. For number 9, I'm giving the award of Best for Family Game Night, which is going to Mario Party 2. This game is pure nostalgic for me. It's the reason I know how to mash buttons a little faster than I probably should, but it is a fantastic pick for a Family Game Night award as it gets so competitive in a really fun way. Now for a Nintendo 64 game, they really blew this out the water. I love the maps, costumes, minigames, graphics, the whole shebang. As a big Mario Party fan, I have a tremendous respect for Mario Party 2. I'll always opt in to play it even to this day, regardless of what new Mario Party they release. A minor gripe, I feel like the AI is a bit rigged. I don't care what anybody says, There's no way Luigi deserved that bonus star. But more than just a game, this one is honestly a real time capsule of my childhood. The betrayal when someone stole a star, that rush you feel at that last turn miracle, the intense button mashing as I mentioned earlier, it all created some unforgettable sleepovers and unexpected rivalries. Even now, few games really replicate the chaos and vibes that Mario Party brings to a room full of friends and family. And number 8, I'm bestowing a very important award, which is the Holy Grail of my childhood award. That is going to Pokemon Platinum. When I'm asked about what my childhood video game was, there's a few answers that could apply, like Mario Kart Wii, Sonic Adventure 2, Mario Galaxy, SpongeBob Battle for Bikini Bottom, but Pokemon Platinum is always the game that first comes to mind. It's the most deserving of the Holy Grail of my childhood award. It's the game that had a tight grip on me as a kid. I'd sink hours upon hours of me playing this game and taking huge pride in the progress I'd make as I'd go through the game. And to this day, I still look back through those Pokedex entries of the level 100 Japanese shiny Pokemon that I obtained from my good old action replay. Pokemon Platinum hit that really sweet spot of a mysterious and edgy atmosphere while still trying to capture the heart of the beloved Pokemon formula. It was a generational peak for the Pokemon series. I still dream that one day the Pokemon Company and Game Freak will collaborate to make this 3D, 2D remake that the game really deserves. Give it some modern day justice. Something that I feel like it would bring back the old magic of the Sinnoh region and not so much what we got in the Brilliant Diamond Shining Pearl remake, whatever. At number 7, I'm giving the award for my most competitive game, and that is going to Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. I am a huge fan of Mario Kart. I still boast about winning this Mario Kart tournament that was hosted by Nintendo back in the summer of 2014. I use that as my credentials for the claim that I'm good at this game. Arguably, it's the only game I'd say I'm really good at with confidence. I love the tracks, item selection, and the many memories that are associated with playing this with friends and family. I feel like it's safe to say that most people watching this have this game, I'd imagine. So I don't really need to get too in depth with this game. So I'm sure you all know the charm. Now, if I had to be a little bit nitpicky, I didn't really love the battle mode. I mean, it's fun, but I was never really in the mood to play it, so there's that. But with that being said, there's only been a few games that have kept me coming back year after year, and Mario Kart 8 Deluxe does that beautifully. Coming in at number 6, I'm actually pretty excited to talk about this one. I'm giving the award of Most Charming to The Legend of Zelda: The Wind Waker. Now, I love Wind Waker, and honestly, for a 4-year span, this game was actually my favorite game of all time. I've played this game all the way through a dozen times, and even once 100% it. Why does it get the Most Charming award? Well, just look at it. The colors, the art direction, the enemies, the open world and triumphant music. It's super charming and it's a delightful adventure. I was lucky enough to introduce my girlfriend to the world of Zelda games with this entry, and she loved it. Obviously, you may know what I'm about to say regarding its flaw, the infamous Triforce Hunt. That was a pain. But despite that, Wind Waker holds a vibe unlike anything else. The wide ocean isn't empty, it's mostly peaceful, and sailing with the King of Red Lions while that theme kicks in, honestly, it's pure bliss. It's a bold entry that took a massive visual gamble when it first came out, but it came out timeless. And honestly, in terms of emotional payoff, the ending of Wind Waker is one of the most beautiful in the series. We're now getting into the top 5. It's getting close. At number 5, I'm giving the award of Most Creative. To nobody's shock, it is Baldur's Gate 3. This game is a miracle. It's an interactive D&D campaign that somehow plays better than some real-life sessions. And yes, it's incredibly deserving of the Most Creative award. The level of freedom, the reactivity, characters, it's all insane. I've never played a game that respected my choices this much, and I have a tremendous respect for the developers of this game. The sheer quality that they delivered on needs to be an industry standard. If I had to knock it though, Act 3 does get a bit messy and the amount of content can be a little bit overwhelming. I honestly found myself a little bit lost or, again, overwhelmed at times, but honestly, that could be a good problem to have, I suppose. The writing is super sharp, the the characters do feel real, and every playthrough genuinely can be different. I've had full conversations with friends who none of us made the same choices and all had drastically different outcomes. It really reminds you of what an RPG is really capable of. It's the kind of game that gets you to want to try every class, every origin, and just to see what else is out there. At number 4, I'm giving the award for most addicting, and this is one that I'm pretty excited to talk about. That is Bloodborne. I first attempted playing this game back in 2016. My first ever Soulsborne game was Dark Souls 3, and I was terrible at it. And for some reason, I figured maybe I ought to try this one. Maybe I'll be better. No, I sucked. I could not get past Central Yharnam to save my life. If you gave me a month and $1 million at the end of that month to get past Central Yharnam and beat the first boss, I probably wouldn't have been able to do it. So I banished this game into my library for about 7 years. And when I finally figured out how to play these From Software games, oh boy, I could not put this game down. The level of detail in the environments and enemies, the weapons and drip that you acquire, the vibes that the game delivers on is impeccable. There's truly nothing else that I found that scratches the same itch that this game does, because it's just so unique. You could argue Lies of P does it, but I personally didn't get the same feel from it, but that's subjective, I suppose. Bloodborne was such a surprising choice for my top 10. If you had told the younger me that I'd pick this game up again, get all 3 endings in the span of a few weeks, and be one of the only FromSoft games that I've beaten in New Game Plus to this day, well, I'd say, what are you doing in my house? But I'd also say that's pretty cool. Of course, we can agree on this gripe. 30 frames per second. It needs a remaster. It needs a sequel. What's going on, Sony? I feel like they're allergic to money. Finally getting into my top 3. This award is going to be the best story award, and that is going to God of War Ragnarok. Okay, so there's only been a few games that have hit me emotionally like this one. The way it balances action, mythological characters, the heart is something else. Kratos' growth from this rage-filled man to an actual, thoughtful father is just beautiful. And the combat is somehow even better than it was in the 2018 version of God of War. The soundtrack is top tier, and I just love the direction they took Thor, Odin, and Heimdall, which I understand Thor's character was a little bit controversial at its release, but I was personally a big fan of it. I'd obviously say I'm not a fan of the slow-paced Atreus section in the game. That crap. I dread having to do that and replay the portion of that game. I turned myself into an amateur speedrunner just to get to the end as soon as possible. However, the final stretch of this game is an emotional roller coaster, and the end lingers in your mind after the credits roll. Kratos has never felt more human, and that scene with the murals, just, man, first time I watched it, it gave me chills. Coming in at number 2, I'm giving a very special award, which is the arguably a perfect game award, and that, of course, goes to Elden Ring. Elden Ring isn't just a game, it's an experience. When I describe Elden Ring to people, it's like they made a game that's not supposed to exist, sheerly based on the amount of content available at your fingertips. Anyone who's looking to get themselves into From Software games, I'd always advocate to try for Dark Souls 3 before getting into Elden Ring. And you might wonder why. Well, I honestly feel like you'll feel unbelievably spoiled by the amount of choice and content that's available in Elden Ring, and I fear that you probably won't go back to the Dark Souls games, which, I don't know, it probably won't scratch that same itch for you. The exploration, the secrets, the scale, it can honestly be a bit jaw-dropping at times. Every discovery feels earned, and every boss feels like a personal challenge. Every triumph feels like you've proven yourself that you can do anything. Do I wish that the quest tracking was a little more intuitive? Yeah. Did I have to Google things and still get lost? Yeah. Elden Ring is a world that doesn't care if you're ready, though. It makes you rise to meet it. But when you do that, it really is unforgettable. Okay, here we are. For number 1, the award of my favorite video game of all time, with the trophy that looks different than all the other clip art ones, meaning that it's more important. The video game that has been my favorite video game now for 8 years goes to Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. See, Breath of the Wild completely redefined what I thought open world games could be. It rewards curiosity, creativity, and patience in a way that only a few games have ever done before. This game created a renaissance that open world games would later try to emulate. I've seen various games try to capture that same awe that Breath of the Wild pioneered. Climbing any mountain, solving a puzzle your own way, paragliding into God knows where. It's all about freedom, not just how you play, but how you think. It's the first game in the Zelda lineup that allowed you to create your own adventure. And at the time, it really was the full package. I'll never forget my first playthrough of this game. It felt like this intimidating mountain I'd have to climb, and I truly felt like I was going on an adventure. Even playing this game today, it retains that same charm that captured me back in 2017. I loved exploring and learning more about the lore of this Hyrule and what fragments I can discover about Princess Zelda. And by the way, just a testament to how much I loved this game, this very YouTube channel was created back in 2020 solely because I wanted to create a Let's Play series where I play a modded version of Breath of the Wild as Princess Zelda. That's true, you can go watch that if you want. It's there. It's a little cringy, but it's there. Sure, the shrines are a bit simple and the Divine Beasts were an interesting choice over dungeons compared to the last Zelda titles, but none of that really matters when the core gameplay loop is this good. This game didn't just live up to the hype, it surpassed it. And 8 years later, I still get the urge to boot it up and just wander around. Breath of the Wild is the reason that I fell in love with video games all over again. Anyway, that's my list. My top 10 favorite video games of all time. Well, at least for now. Honestly, ranking these was a little bit difficult. I kept swapping games around, arguing with myself like it was some kind of internal Game Awards panel. But in the end, these games just stuck with me the most. The ones I think about randomly at 2 a.m. and just turn it on and boot it up for nostalgic reasons. I want to know, what are your favorite video games? Thanks for watching.